Braxcast time once again. This is the 48th episode of the Braxcast, if I got my numbering correctly, and I'm going to be diving into some updates for the Rippaverse. So there were some Q1 updates. That was a video released by the Rippaverse along with some other stuff, so we're going to cover that. It's going to be more speculation. We don't have any real hard and fast big announcements. We're still gearing up for whatever's coming out next month, but one of the exciting things, if you're going to be local to Orlando, February 6th to the 9th, 2025, is MegaCon will be ongoing during that time. And the Rippaverse were there last year, and they are returning this year. So, of course, Eric July, the man himself, is going to be there. The Saska sisters will be there as well, along with Jay David, who is the writer and creator of Achromatic Chronicles. Of course, that was the first Ripascend project, with green being the new release and blue being reprinted and republished through Ripascend, and that should be starting fulfillment early in February. They're just waiting on the CGC copies for that. And I also believe that Star Wars Fury and Critical Drinker are going to be there as well. And they're going to have a bigger booth. I believe it's 5125. That was the booth number given, but that is, of course, subject to change. But they are going to have a bigger booth and most likely a larger presence at MegaCon, given just how much of a fandom has formed around the Rippaverse and how much it grows with each new release, and of course with the Rippaveal in light of that. Late December of last year being 2024, there is a lot more content, so there's definitely a lot more for the fandom to sink their teeth into and expand as a result. Now, with the last MegaCon that they were at, that being MegaCon 2024, it was one of the first things I covered on the Braxcast because I started it in February, so we're coming up on a year of me doing the Braxcast, is that we had the announcement of the Horsemen during that MegaCon. So I am 100% expecting an announcement of a new book, or not necessarily an announcement of a new book, but an announcement of either a new book entirely, or a confirmation of a book's pre-order window. So we could very well have a situation where ISOM 3's pre-order collection is released during Rippaverse, or it's announced as to happen the next week. So February 6th, 9th, I believe that's towards the end of the week. It could be like, hey, next Monday, you're going to be able to pre-order ISOM 3. I would not be surprised if something like that happens. Of course, we could have a whole new announcement of a book. We could have them releasing the first Ripazine of 2025. That would be a very interesting thing. Of course, the third issue of the Ripazine is something that I think a lot of fans are really excited for, myself included. I definitely want to see what they're cooking up, see if they're going to do a new character for the short story, because I think they should try to at least have one short comic a month in those Ripazines, or they could be diving into a character that's already established, like having a short story for Braxwell or Lillian or many other characters that or Santwan or Shadron. So many characters you could have good short stories of that are already established in the Rippaverse for the Ripazine, and that all could be announced at MegaCon. But anyway, February 6th to the 9th, they will be at MegaCon in Orlando. So if you're there, you can get your stuff signed. You can meet some of the team members of the Rippaverse, and of course, for everyone who won't be attending MegaCon like myself, I would advise you keep your eyes peeled on MegaCon, because I don't doubt that there are going to be some pretty exciting announcements coming out of MegaCon in relation to the Rippaverse, because we had Horsemen announced for the Rippaverse at MegaCon last year, and that was a pretty heavy hitter. So we're really excited to see what they're cooking up next. But in stuff that has been confirmed and released, very exciting thing is that the art of Will Conrad is beginning fulfillment. My copy should be coming to me on Tuesday, so it's probably going to be the 49th, the next episode of the Braxcast, where I dive into the art of Will Conrad, so stay tuned for that. So there's, of course, the same art that's used for, I believe it's March on the 2025 Rippaverse calendar. But regardless, it's a fantastic piece of art. Of course, you got Splatterpuss in Gooding's mask right there. absolutely love it. I'm going to absolutely love diving into The Art of Will Conrad, which is the second art of book, and of course, technically the third art book. The first one being the concept art of the Rippaverse that was released alongside the Ice and #1 campaign. I covered that in its entirety on one episode of the Braxcast. Very, very fun. I love these art books. Even if they are small, they're still very fun to go through. So when I get that in my hands, I will for sure be showing it off. But if you have pre-ordered this, it is in fulfillment right now. So I'm sure some of you already have, and if you don't, it should be at your doorstep in the coming days. So that's a very exciting thing. Now, of course, we've got Bloodroof. Now, this was not necessarily mentioned in the Q1 update with the fulfillment for Bloodroof, but the pre-order campaign is ending on the 20th. So if you want some of those limited covers, you want some of those merch items, and you're watching this the weekend that this is out, of course, I'm filming this on Saturday the 18th, if I have my dates correct. And there's, you want that pretty sweet plushie, you want that shaker bottle, you want the posters, you want the shirts, you want covers A through C. I would advise getting onto the Rippaverse website, pre-ordering this stuff right now. This is, of course, the foil and embossed cover C, done by Wagner Reese. It's a very lovely cover, and I think it's a fantastic one to show off while I talk about Bloodroof. Of course, I've speculated about Bloodroof quite a bit, and I don't feel like reiterating the things I've said in the past, but I definitely want to state that as of filming this, Bloodroof is just over 12,000 copies sold, and just under $700,000 in total sales. At $698 last time I checked. So I imagine with that little burst of sales you get towards the end of these pre-order collections, it's very typical for comic book campaigns, or basically any campaign where you've got stuff that's tracked. For the very beginning and the very end to be where the most amount of activity happens for single day. So I imagine, Sunday early into Monday, it'll probably end between $700,000 and $750,000, and probably, in the neighborhood of 15,000 copies sold. An absolutely massive success for the Rippaverse. Of course, I think the Saskas really outdid themselves in terms of just making her an interesting character. Of course, this is me being like, a little bit of I guess prophesizing, because I haven't read the book yet. But she's such an interesting character, and this is right up their alley in terms of horror. Of course, they are horror films directors, and this is a horror character and comic book character. So I think there's just a lot going for this book being an absolute banger. Of course, I will be getting it, I will be reading it, but most likely it's going to start fulfillment starting the week of January 20th. If not, it'll probably be sometime in February. It might just be those CGC copies, and that could be in the same run as the Achromatic copies, and they were expecting those in February. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm sure it'll happen by Q1 2025. Now, of course, I want to give some updates on the Yaira #2 campaign. So Yaira #2 is at 6,500 books sold, over $222,000 in total revenue. Of course, this is due in terms of that revenue number being not as mammoth as Yaira #1, making over $1 million in about 25 hours, is because you don't have nearly as much in terms of the merch options. Of course, Yaira #1 launched with the Rippazine and the Dokuman cards, and have had the statue at the end, whereas Yaira #2 has a much cheaper book. Cover D is about $13. It's a shorter page count, so all the book, even the cover C, they're a lot cheaper than they were with Yaira #1. And of course, 2s don't perform as well as #1s more often than not, but still, it's a six-figure pre-order collection. You've got over 5,000 books sold, 6,500 last time I checked, as of, just before Saturday, the 18th, filming this. So there definitely is a lot of people who are all in on the Frosty Femme Fatale, myself included. Yaira's story is a very interesting one to me. I've said it plenty of times that Yaira #1 is my favorite Rippaverse book so far, and I've got no doubts that they're going to really be bringing in, I guess, not the heat, but they're going to really be turning down the thermostat even more with the second issue of Yaira, and I'm absolutely stoked to get into this one. This one should be fulfilling end of February, early March at the latest, so that's a very, very nice thing. Now, of course, with the last, in terms of products that we know, so this is the Yaira statue that was released. Its pre-order was released at the tail end of the Yaira #1 campaign, if all of you all remember. And that was a massive success in terms of the amount of statues sold. This is, of course, a $500 statue. This is a 12-inch resin made. So it's a low manufacturer run. I think less than 1,500 units of this are being made in collaboration with McFarlane Toys. This is an absolute stunning statue. Of course, you've got Yaira surrounded by ice, her hair flowing, and you've got that epic costume. Like I said, I love her costume design. Marcos Rios did an absolute fantastic job in making a really good, solid concept for Yaira with the simple colors and the very flattering design, all these sorts of things. I think all the Rippaverse characters look absolutely fantastic. But the good news is that this statue is on track, so it'll most likely enter the warehouse into February. That's when it will be landed in the warehouse, and then it will be going out basically right away. So that will be coming out Q1. And of course, I don't have a picture for the Iron Studios young Isom statue. I didn't print out a picture for that, but that is on schedule, as well as even ahead of schedule. So both of those statues, the first two statues that the Rippaverse has released, this Yaira statue in collaboration with McFarlane Toys, and the young Isom statue in collaboration with Iron Studios, it will both be in the hands of the customers in the first quarter, which is when they said that it would be. So that is all very, very exciting. And now going on for a little bit more of just raw speculation. Of course, I think that the most likely candidates for the next collection that's announced is going to be Isom. Very decent chance that happens at MegaCon. And it could even be multiple things. You know, you get that confirmation of Isom 3 and saying, hey, Zalen will be out next month, followed by Alpha Core. I think it's either going to be Alpha Core or Zalen. I don't think Horseman #1 is going to be what's next after that. But I just, this Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett collaboration or creative team that's formed around Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett was what was announced to have continued with the Horseman Welcome to Forest Park and MegaCon. So I think they would want to capitalize on that. But of course, you've got a lot of fans, myself included, really itching to get that conclusion of the ill-advised arc. I think MegaCon will be a perfect place to announce when we can get our pre-orders in for Isom #3 and finally experience that epic conclusion. Now, of course, Eric talked about there being even more books than what was announced at the Rippaverse. They talked about 14 books at the Rippaverse showcase, which was an absolutely stunning amount of books for a company that's this young, and especially considering that 2022 we just had Isom #1, 2023 we had 2 books in Isom #2 and Alpha Core #1, and then I believe it was 5 books in the year of 2024 with Yaira 1, Gooding, the 2 Rippazines, and then Bloodroof #1. And of course, Bloodroof #1 should be fulfilling by the end of this month, early February at the latest, is what I am speculating on that. Of course, Q1 2025 is when all orders should be out, and that's still on their website. So I definitely think that more Rippazines is probably going to be the safest bet on stuff that isn't being talked about. But the really exciting thing is that Eric mentioned that Rippaverse Studios is still cooking stuff up. Very exciting. So if you notice with the Rippaverse showcase, all the trailers were very simple. There weren't any animated trailers for the Rippaverse. I think that was definitely a good thing because, you would have had to make like 10 or so animated trailers. It would have bogged them up too much, especially if they're working on bigger stuff. So my speculation is that they're working on like a 10-minute or so animation that goes over the ill-advised arc, or that functions as an introduction to the Rippaverse. That definitely could be a big thing. Of course, we've got The Great War of Separation. That is an upcoming book for 2025, so there is a very decent chance that we have a short like I said, 10-minute, 5 to 10 minute animation. And instead of it being the ill-advised arc that's covering, it's covering the Great War of Separation, and that's released alongside the comic book itself to really kick off that limited series. That would be a very interesting thing to see, given how much of the Great War of Separation is alluded to in the Rippaverse. Just with the couple of books that we have that have been the foundation for the canon. So it would be very interesting to have a pretty epic animation that introduces the fans to the Great War of Separation along with the comic book. But I think if we have a big animated project, it probably would be ill-advised arc, so that way, we can have a really glorious animation with Isom, Yaira, and the Alpha Core. And that's, of course, that Rippaverse Trinity that has established the canon and propelled the company into where it is today, where they can have more than 14 books on the pipeline. And of course, all the statues and the animations and everything else that they are doing. And of course, one of the other things that they're doing is the membership platform. Now, the last time I checked, there are around 1,000 paying members for the Rippaverse membership. And it's pretty bog bones when you go to the membership platform. It's still ericdjuly.com because it was initially his membership platform and they made it Rippaverse members. So they're rebuilding that from the ground up. They're going to release that. They're expecting to release it this quarter, which would be by the end of March, I believe, if I'm getting my quarters correct, is when they'll have the new membership platform. And of course, this was something that was discussed about when the Gooding collection released alongside the overhauled website, which I think is a really nice website. I love that user experience and design of it. Of course, some things can be a little bit more streamlined, like scrolling through some stuff and the way the comics are organized and all those sorts of things. But it's a very good foundation to build upon, and I just love the look of it, especially in comparison with the old website. But when Gooding, the Polymath, was released, its collection was released. It was released alongside that updated website. And when that was released, it was Eric was saying that there was going to be an overhauled membership experience, and that is upcoming. And we didn't really get much talk about that. It's like, oh, they're working on it, it's coming, and now we know that it should be by the end of this quarter. Again, that's something that could be announced at MegaCon. I think that's going to be something that's just dropped as a stealth release. I don't think it necessarily needs to be part of that announcement of MegaCon. I think if they're going to announce anything at MegaCon, it's going to be either Isom #3 or a Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett project, or something new entirely. Something new entirely that fans have been wanting. But Norfolk is what I would say the fan base was really, really speculating on. Not just speculating on, but saying this is what we want. We want a Norfolk book, and we know that Norfolk Glorious Death is upcoming on that release schedule, and I think that's going to be past the summer of 2025. So I don't think it's something that's going to necessarily be talked about at MegaCon. So it probably is going to be either Isom 3, a Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett project, or going about the Rippazine. And it could be one of those things and saying, hey, if you want to support this, here's the new membership platform. They announce that as well, and they make MegaCon a really big event. Of course, that would be an absolutely fantastic and exciting thing to see, but that is just me speculating, and I think I've speculated more than enough. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Braxcast. Hopefully, as the weeks go by, there's more and more stuff for me to actually dive into and talk about, with stuff like Bloodroof and Yaira #2 and Alpha Core #2 and Great War Separation. So many books, so much stuff where instead of me speculating on what's coming, I'm just talking about the pages in front of me and just breaking down and really getting into it. And that's going to be much more consistent for this year of the Braxcast, given just how much they are releasing this year. And I will definitely be covering it all on the Braxcast. So like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for all of that. And thank you for watching and listening. Joker is out.
Thank you for tuning in to the Braxcast. Be sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to keep up with the Rippaverse.